We like to say civic engagement is a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's not just a one-time event. You just don't say, oh, I would like to get everybody's opinion, and then forget it, I don't want to hear you anymore, and we're going to go back to the public hearings. Nobody wants to come. So where we've seen it work, it's very authentic, and it's very long-term. Montgomery, Ohio has been working on their civic engagement project for more than 10 years. But they've gotten to a place now where they have an online survey where they ask people what they think, and the citizens say, we feel so welcome to be a part of this community. I feel different about this community than any place I've ever lived.
Thank you very much, Karen. I want to bring in John Rogers, who's a professor in UCLA's Graduate School of Education and Information Studies, director of UCLA's Institute for Democracy, Education, and Access, that's IDEA, which provides data both to policymakers and to community organizations so they can be civically engaged. I think if you know something about inner city struggle, you may have seen some of the benefits of your work. You study strategies for engaging urban youth, community members, educators, and draw extensively on the work of John Dewey to explore the meaning and the possibilities for democratic education today. He's also faculty co-director of the Principal Leadership Institute, and I think we have some aspiring principals here. Outstanding. So here's my question for the education school professor. How do you teach people to be civically engaged? When can that start? How can we do it? And what infrastructure and access do we have to that kind of education?
So I think the good news is that over the last decade or so, there's been a set of studies that make it pretty clear that if we provide students with some critical civic learning opportunities, they will become more informed and more civically engaged when they become adults. So what are these civic learning opportunities? They need access to instruction that teaches them about the history and principles of American democracy. They need an opportunity to have meaningful dialogues with their teacher about current events, about problems in their own communities, and about ways that they can participate in addressing those problems and ways that the state can play a role in addressing those problems. They need extracurricular activities like student government, opportunities for debate, and they need some opportunities to participate in community service activities. So that's the good news. We know that those opportunities make a difference, and in fact, some studies suggest that they're more predictive of whether or not a young person will develop civic commitments than their social class, or even whether or not their parent is engaged in politics. That's the good news. The less than good news is that not all California students have access to these civic learning opportunities. And in fact, the work that my colleague Joe Kahn has done suggests that there's real inequalities across California public schools in who has access to those opportunities. That schools that serve primarily Latino and African American students offer few of those opportunities on average. A survey I conducted last summer had principals report on the ways in which budget cuts have impacted their schools, and amongst other things, principals talked about in California this last year, there's been cutbacks to student government, to drama classes, to journalism classes, to community service opportunities. Those opportunities have been cut back in particular in schools with large numbers of low-income kids. So if we want to make a difference in California's future and in the extent to which adults are engaged in civic life, the extent to which they're informed about civic life, we need to invest in our public schools. We need to make sure that those investments are tied to civic learning opportunities, and we need to make sure that those opportunities are distributed equally.